I'm very lucky because I've always had this kind of personality where I like to be alone 2, 3, 4 hours a day or more. Even when I was a little kid, I remember very well that I needed 2 or 3 hours just by myself, to
Mm.
ride my bicycle, to play basketball, to do my drawings, watch TV, whatever it was. Because if I didn't have my 2 or 3 hours, if I was always with other people, I got nervous and anxious and upset, which is
Mm.
why school was sometimes difficult for me. I liked school. I liked almost every subject, math and history and art and music and gym. I liked it all. But having to be with other people 5, 6, 7 hours a day was difficult for me. And so I have the personality of a writer. I like being alone, sitting in front of my computer. It depends on the day, 3 hours a day, 6 hours a day, 8 hours a day. I'm very happy with my living with my characters, creating this parallel universe, disappearing from the world outside. And I think that's what you need if you want to be a writer. I mean, I have no particular advice, but being a writer means that you have very little social life. You
Yeah.
have to be alone. You can't write with other people talking to you or watching TV or even just listening to music. It's very difficult. So, do you have the kind of personality where you don't need a mother or a father or a friend saying it's time to get to work? You better start working on that novel, because it doesn't work. You have to like being alone and being in this parallel universe you're creating. And if you have that personality, if you're lucky enough to have that personality, or unlucky enough, because it's not an easy life, then you can be a novelist. And it'll take 1, 2, 3 years to write your books, and you'll be okay. But you'll be isolated. Sometimes people at book festivals or when I'm on TV, they think my life must be glamorous. Here I am
Yeah.
on TV talking about the book. It's not at all glamorous. 95% of my time is I'm alone,
Yeah.
and that's okay. I like it. The difficult part for me is being out with other people and doing book presentations, and then sometimes I get annoyed because every I had to do a book fair in Sweden to help my Swedish publisher. She's a very small publisher, tiny, and she wanted me to come to try to get some publicity, which is very difficult. And so I went, and it was horrible for me because I was in this gigantic book fair in Gothenburg. There was like 10,000 people with 500 stands of books, and nobody was buying books and nobody was interested in me. And that's okay. But I kept thinking, what am I doing here? We're not even selling any books. I'm not meeting nice people. I'm helping my publisher, but we're not successful. And every moment I'm here, I could be home. I could be home working on a novel, or having a good time with my husband or gardening. And instead, here I am with 10,000 people in this gigantic building that's extremely noisy.
Mm.
And so those are the hardest things for me is trying to, trying to participate in the world and, make the books a success. That's just hard.
Yeah, yeah. You just refer your husband. That I was about to say. Another key thing is the person you choose to be your partner.
Right.
Has to be someone who understands all things you just refer, and they have to be totally okay with it. Doesn't matter if you are married or not, But the moment you live together, they have
Yeah.
to understand that your routine is not people's routine. It's different, and it's not because you think you are special or you are from another galaxy. It's just the way you are, and they need to live with that. And you also need to live with their own things. It's a mutual deal, but
Absolutely. I
it's very
agree.
key to not to
I
keep
agree
that
with you
connection.
100%. The person you live with has to understand that you want to be alone three,
Mhm.
4, 5, 6 hours a day, and you don't want to be disturbed either. And so it takes a lot of patience for whoever you're married to or whoever you're with or your kids to just say, mom or dad needs to be
Yeah.
alone for 4 hours and I can't bother him or her. yes, it takes a lot of patience, and some
Yeah.
people are willing to do that. And if you're not willing to do that, then I'm not sure you can live with a writer for very long.
Yeah, even if you have a pet, like I have a cat myself, he doesn't understand that I'm like today I'm in Portugal, so he won't show up, unfortunately, because I already miss him. It's 4 or 5 days, and I'm ready.
Sure.
I'm already emotional if I refer his name here. But he doesn't care. You kind of feel, I think, like after like I have him for 6 years. You kind of feel okay. He's having his own time. Maybe I will go, but in half an hour, maybe in an hour. But after an hour, no, it's enough. You have to show up. It's too much for him to wait now, and especially cats are very much about themselves.
Yeah, I'm amazed that people who have kids can write novels or books about psychology or history, because kids need our time, and quite rightly. I'm not criticizing. They need us. They need your attention. They need your love. They need you to know you're there. They need you to laugh with them and play with them. And I don't know how people balance the two. I think it must be extremely difficult to write a really good novel or a book about history or politics and try to be a good dad or a mom. It must be really hard.
Yeah, it's a lot of hats. Like we already have a couple of hats, like having a partner, being a writer, being a friend. You mentioned you like gym, so let's say being a sports person. It's already 4, and I'm not going any further. I have to be here, till the rest of the interview. But it's already challenging. And if you have a kid, which I don't have kids, but I can imagine, I think a kid is like 5 hats. It's equal to 5 hats.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And another hat that I can think of now, which is not a real hat, is more of a virtual hat. It's social media. There's more and more an urge for artists to be in social media. Well, you can be an old-fashioned type, and there is a glamour about it, but there is also a price. I'd say the price is very high. That doesn't make much sense to be, somewhere far, never show up. How do you handle social media these days?
Well, one thing I learned about 10 years ago when I first started was it's almost impossible to have a serious discussion on Facebook or Twitter or any of the social media. At first, I thought, well, maybe you can discuss literature seriously or politics. You can't, because there's always people ready to insult you, ready to say very silly things, ready to criticize you unnecessarily. And it lowers the level of discussion to, a really, really silly, stupid level. And so I don't do that anymore. I basically use Facebook to promote like book events. If I'm talking at a library, in a few days, I'll be presenting a book about politics by the former Minister of Education. So I say, I'll be at the Corte Inglés at 6:30 talking about this book, so people can know and can come if they're interested. So Facebook for me is very useful that way. I'm not sure it's as useful as it used to be, because there's just too much information coming all the time. In my own opinion, Twitter has become totally useless for people like me who are writers. It's useful for people who are newsmakers, who are superstar Taylor Swift and Paul McCartney, and they say, I've got a new single out, or I'll be doing a concert in Budapest, and suddenly 100,000 people know they're doing a concert in Budapest. But Twitter, for somebody like me, it's useless. I say, I have a new book coming out, and you only get like 2 or 3 replies. So what's the point? I just don't know what the future of it is, because we all get so much information that any one piece of information becomes less and less important.
Yeah.
And so I'll keep using Facebook, but I just don't know for how long it's going to keep being useful.
See, is it fair to say that Facebook, social medias in general for individuals like yourself, it's more of a PR where you advertise what you do?
Yeah, it's PR. I try to use it just to be funny, just I
Mm.
was at the book fair and I took a picture with the big bad wolf, Lobo Mao. And so I post the picture. I'm just being silly. This is my personality, you know,
Mm.
um, or I'm traveling and I'm in Arizona or New Mexico and I take a beautiful picture of the landscape. It's really not promotion. It's just this is beautiful. So my posts are a mixture of fun things and beautiful flowers and birds and things that I love, things that I find optimistic and wonderful, and my books. Yeah, so it's half PR and half my personality,
Yeah,
and very little politics because, again, as I say, having a serious discussion on social media is almost impossible.
yeah, I agree. I agree, and I think it's important to bring beauty, especially because most of things that happen on the digital sphere, they are very ugly and nasty. So if you have
Absolutely.
the ability to bring something pretty, that
Yeah,
it's people can stare at and feel happy of with that moment.
absolutely.
They are, let's say, they're seeing an amazing landscape. They can almost um, taste or perceive the smell. Let's say the
Yeah,
smell of flowers. I think it's a um, uh, huge thing. Like, if we are able
it is.
to transmit that thing into others instead of engaging on nonsense discussions. It's only
Yeah,
about who speaks louder without
right.
an actual voice.
Yeah, and we all need encouragement. We all need beauty. We all need sympathy. We all need all empathy. And so I think on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, we all should try to do a little bit of that. And Instagram in particular is useful because it's mostly just photographs and videos. So I do a lot of videos of my garden, for instance, showing how beautiful the flowers are. And
Mm.
I don't know what effect it has, but at least some people are seeing some optimistic, beautiful side to the universe.